one reason, one critic said, that Star Wars has been so popular with young people is religion without strings attached, that it becomes a very thin base for theology. In fact,
Well, it is a thin base for theology. That's why I would hesitate to call the Force God. When the film came out, almost every single religion took Star Wars and used it as an example of their religion. And were able to relate it to young people and saying this is what, and relate the stories specifically to the Bible and relate stories to the Quran and the Torah and things. And so it's like, if it's a tool that can be used to make old stories be new and relate to younger people, that's what the whole point was.
People love to say that they don't believe in the Bible because it is a tool for control. That is one of the biggest reasons I always hear that people like to reject it. But the irony of this is that those same people that say this are big-time viewers of television shows and movies. It's ironic because the entertainment industry is probably one of the top 5 weapons of mass control used against a population. There are more people that watch movies than there are people that read Bibles. But yet I have never heard anyone say they don't watch movies because it is a tool for control. Hollywood has used movies and television to directly attack the minds of its viewers and suggest ideas and beliefs that the viewer is often not even aware of. Movies have always sparked changes in our society, some changes more noticeable than others. Like in 1942 when Bambi was released, it was said that after the movie's release, deer hunting was cut in half in the US. And in 1975, when Jaws was released, although shark attacks have always been rare, the movie caused beach tourism to drop off some on both coasts for some time. The movie Fight Club in 1999 inspired underground fight clubs in real life all around the world. And even the movie V for Vendetta in 2005 was used as inspiration for the hacking activist group Anonymous. We can choose to deny it, but movies have massive influence, and they are used to spread ideas and beliefs to the masses unsuspectingly. They can change our views and perceptions on many things. One major example is how they like making evil seem okay, or making us root for the bad guy. How many people today still love the movie Scarface when the Cuban gangster pretty much killed anyone in his way? Or even with the HBO series The Sopranos. They had us always rooting for Tony Soprano to win, even though he did horrible, horrible things. Or even just recently with the movie Joker, which is the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. This movie had the masses understanding and relating with a mass murderer who basically said killing people was his jokes. This is able to work because people want to simply ignore these facts and then write it all off under the label and excuse of entertainment. Just because it is entertainment, it is given a pass. So the power brokers behind the movies are able to create content that they know can influence and manipulate our minds. But they are given free passes to do so because we like to be entertained. If these powerful companies came and asked a group of people, can we do some mind control experiments on you so we can change your perception and view on morality? I'm sure the overwhelming majority would say, absolutely not. I'm not going to allow you to play with my mind. So what the powers that be did was, instead of them coming to us, they made us come to them. And they did the same experiments without ever asking permission. And that is the danger of our entertainment industry. We are the biggest companies in the world making our entertainment. And though we want them to stay out of our politics, to stay out of our private lives, and not to try to control us, because we like to be entertained, we give them free reign over our minds. So that leads me back to what I said when I started, when I spoke about people rejecting the Bible because they feel it's a tool for control. What if the people making our entertainment didn't believe in the Bible, but were on the other side of the spectrum and believed in something much darker and much more sinister? I think for the most part, the majority of the general public, regardless if they understand all the secrets and beliefs, I think the majority know that many of the rich and powerful are part of secret fraternal organizations like Freemasonry. What if they were trying to subtly introduce some of their beliefs through their movies? What if many of them were Satanists or believed heavily in witchcraft or they practiced Kabbalah or Gnosticism? What if they believed in these things and wanted to spread their beliefs to the masses? Do you think it is possible for them to spread their beliefs through their content labeled as strictly entertainment? If you don't think that that is possible, then you are being deceived, and you may want to reconsider exactly how you view and interact with this world. Because this is exactly what they do. And the best way to illustrate this is using the second highest grossing film franchise worldwide, second only to the Marvel Cinema franchise collectively. But the franchise of Star Wars is a great example to use, because while people think it is simply a science fictional space opera that is about adventure and war between an authoritarian empire and rebel forces, or maybe just a fight between good and evil, light against the dark, only a few actually realize that Star Wars is actually a very religious movie. In reality, it is about religion first, and then the adventure and war second. But all the action and conflict distract the unsuspecting viewer from this reality. In over 4 decades, this franchise has had massive influence over a wide range of people, multiple generations of viewers, while they are pushing esoteric views and occult beliefs to the masses under the guise of entertainment. And after the most recent movie, The Rise of Skywalker, was just released, which was highly religious and esoteric and massively centered around the occult, it's time that this is all exposed. So we are going to discuss the religion of Star Wars and the esoteric occult views that has been spread over the decades. Let's begin. So please understand, a person could choose what they want to believe and in what God they choose to serve. That is not my decision to make for anyone. The God I serve, the God of the Bible, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, does not force anyone to believe in him, and he will not push his views in a manipulative way. If you have ever thought that he has tried this, you should understand that he was not being represented, though people may have been falsely teaching in his name. He does not want fake worship, and he does not use tricks or deception. But Satan does. And that is why we need to discuss this, because all of what we are going to discuss comes from his doctrines. He just doesn't tell people, hey, I want you to practice and believe in occult principles. No, that's not what he does. What he does is introduce you to his different ways of thinking, his esoteric knowledge that when practiced and believed in will bring you closer to him and move you further away from our Creator. But it's very subtle. So, like I was saying, the movie Star Wars is a religious film. It's hard to recognize this at first glance during the films, because between all the mentioning of the religious aspects, we are entrenched in the battle which is the war between the rebels and the different empires, like the First Order. They make you think that this is about a war between good and evil, but it's actually quite deeper than that. So let's discuss the religious aspects. The first thing we will discuss is the Force. The premise behind Star Wars revolves around mysteriously hidden energy referred to as the Force. This metaphysical energy is tapped into by those trained in the arts of white or black magic, since one could harness the good energy of the light side or the evil energy of the dark side. In Episode 4, A New Hope, we hear Obi-Wan Kenobi describe it as,
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
He said it is an energy field created by all living things. And because most of the general public is not initiated into the occult, much of this language and understanding can be just brushed aside as being inconsequential. Now, I am in no way initiated into the occult, so for me, many things are hidden from me as well. But I have done enough surface level research to understand their agendas and their principles of wickedness. The Force is simply a rehashing of the pagan belief in an impersonal, universal version of God as a cosmic consciousness. George Lucas said,
I put the Force into the movies in order to try to awaken a certain kind of spirituality in young people. More a belief in God than a belief in any particular, religious system.
You see, he wanted to find a path for everyone to walk that satisfied all religious beliefs. The Force of Star Wars is merely an admiration for the ancient days when pagan beliefs dominated the world. Like George Lucas said,
I wanted to try to explain in a different way the religions that have already existed.
You're creating a new myth.
Well, I'm telling an old myth in a new way.
The myths of old were the stories that were told that centered around the pagan gods from the ancient days of Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, Rome, and other nations. And from those myths is where we get the mystery religions. It's the mythology that people like to link with the Bible and say that the Yeshua of the Bible is the Horus of Egypt or Tammuz of Mesopotamia. I explain this in depth in the History of Religion Part 1 video. If you have not watched that video, watch that video after this one. But yes, George Lucas is telling the myths of old that were centered around the ancient pagan gods of the old world empires, the ancient pagan mystery religions. And in Star Wars, the Jedis are the high priest of this religion. If you follow the movie, they have sacred texts and they even had a Jedi temple. In the movie Rogue One, one of the main characters was a blind man named Chirrut Imwe. Forgive my pronunciations. He was a spiritual warrior monk and basically had no place when the Jedi temple was destroyed. During his part in the movie, he would consistently repeat,
I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me.
I am one with the Force, and the Force is one with me. You see, the thing is that the Force is not properly explained in full application with real life, so people just think it's some made-up thing. But belief in the Force is a belief that is held onto by witches, warlocks, Kabbalists, and those who engage in the occult. There have been many occultists who have written about it, just not in the same words that Star Wars uses. Aleister Crowley, a very well-known Satanist and occultist of his day, who was at one time labeled the most wickedest man on earth. In his writings, he speaks of his attempts to create a new universal religion in which the practices of Buddhism and Hinduism are combined with Western esotericism, witchcraft, and ceremonial magic in order for the practitioner to find God on his own while destroying Christianity in the process. This is known as the system of Thelema, of which Aleister was the founder of. This satanic system of Thelema begins with his Book of the Law, from which we get the summation of Satanism, do what thou wilt. I speak about this often in other videos. According to Wikipedia, Thelema is a social or spiritual philosophy derived from Western esotericism. While Thelema is most often regarded as a religion, a new religious movement, and contemporary mystery religion in particular, it is also often called a philosophy, religious philosophy, spiritual philosophy, or religious matrix. Thelema has also occasionally been described as an esoteric, ethical, ideological, magical, mystical, occultic, or paranormal social system or schema of beliefs or concepts. Thelema, as a worldview, may have meaningful implications for how its adherents view, relate to, and act with regard to culture, ethics, historiography, history, metaphysics, politics, psychology, psychospirituality, and society, including sociocultural or socio-political systems. And this is what the religion of the Jedis is. That's what the belief in the power of the Force is. It is an esoterical New Age religion, and the reason that it's being presented is twofold. Their goal is the destruction of Christianity and the advent of a new global religion. The Force is actually demonic powers manifesting in the physical realm. When you say, "May the Force be with you," you might as well be saying, "May Satan be with you." What George Lucas is presenting in his films is a way of spreading the one world religion in which the narrative is that all religions are borrowing from the same stories, just told in a different way. He says this himself.
When the film came out, almost every single religion took Star Wars and used it as an example of their religion. And were able to relate it to young people and saying this is what, and relate the stories specifically to the Bible and relate stories to the Quran and the Torah and things. And so it's like, if it's a tool that can be used to make old stories be new and relate to younger people, that's what the whole point was.
And this is what the viewers are seeing while they are being entertained with the fantasy intergalactic conflict and what they tried to show us as a battle of good and evil. Occultist Alice Bailey, a former theosophist, A theosophist is one who teaches about God and the world based on mystical insight. In her book, Problems of Humanity, she spoke about this goal, which she channeled from an ancient spirit guide named, I don't want to say his name. She said, "The day is dawning when all religions will be regarded as emanating from one great spiritual source. All will be seen as unitedly providing the one root out of which the universal world religion will inevitably emerge. Then there will be neither Christian nor heathen, neither Jew nor Gentile, but simply one great body of believers gathered out of all the current religions. They will accept the same truths, not as theological concepts, but as essential to spiritual living. They will stand together on the same platform of brotherhood and of human relations. They will recognize divine sonship and will seek unitedly to cooperate with the divine plan. Such a world religion is no idle dream, but something which is definitely forming today." Alice Bailey's works were published through the Lucis Trust, which originally was called Lucifer Publishing Company, and they mirror Aleister Crowley's goal in this system of Thelema. This is a goal of those who believe in the occult, and this is what they are spreading. As a believer in the way lives their life with the intention to spread their gospel, those who believe in the occult, especially at the highest levels, their goal is to spread their occult beliefs and merge all religions. I speak about this more in depth in my video about the coming one world religion. If you have not watched this, watch this after the History of Religion Part 1. Star Wars is presenting a new age religion that is completely surrounded by the occult. If you follow all 10 of the movies with this thought in mind, it is easy to see how they are pushing new age occult beliefs as a way of harmless thinking that can lead people to enlightenment. And that is the religious aspect of the Force. The occult magician believes that they can make the universe reflect their inner thought through rituals and other practices, similar to Luke's mastery of the Force. And that's one reason why his story was so prevalent within the series. It's very hard to get a full grasp of understanding on this subject because we are only talking about it at the surface. There are degrees in the occult, and the understanding only becomes fuller as you grow in the knowledge of their wicked beliefs, and I have no intention of going there. But there is enough understanding at the surface level that you can see that they are promoting a new age religion. And while they want to tie it in with all religions, the main opposition to this is the biblical teachings that come directly from the Bible. Now, you may find Bible teachers that try to incorporate the occult and mix these principles in, but that is not based on what the Bible truly says. And that's why they want to see the end of the way, what is now more commonly labeled as Christianity. And when they make films like Star Wars, they are promoting these mindsets to you with different names centered around fictional events, but their religious beliefs are all tied into it. They are tricking the uninitiated into accepting a new religion. And that's why these movies are so well known and heavily marketed. Star Wars has been a movement, and the more you identify with the movie, the more you identify with the occult beliefs. The movie is filled with hidden symbolism and occult practices. Like in the promotion of the movie, when they were marketing The Force Awakens, they were pushing out the one-eye symbolism consistently on their posters, telling you that Satan is involved in this movie. Or in the movie itself, how through their deep focus and being one with the Force, they were able to speak with the old Jedi Masters of the past and be guided by them. This is called necromancy, and it is an occult practice. According to the Britannica, necromancy is a communication with the dead, usually in order to obtain insight into the future, or to accomplish some otherwise impossible task. Such activity was current in ancient times among the Assyrians, Babylonians, Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, and Etruscans. It's a form of black magic. Or think about how they are able to move things with their minds, which is called telekinesis, another form of black magic. Again, they were bringing pagan rituals and black magic to the masses and making it seem normal. But a main part of the symbolism they promote is their esoteric belief of duality. Now, I do not claim to be an expert in this subject because I am not an occultist or a former one, but I do not think you need to understand the subject deeply to see what they are doing. And after I explain this, I will explain the main twist that a majority probably do not realize about the movie, and why they even made the prequels part 1 through 3. In Star Wars, there is a light and dark side of the Force. Now, to the unsuspecting that has no knowledge of the occult, they would see this as just a struggle between good and evil. The light is good and the dark is evil. But that is not actually what the movie is presenting. That is what our conscious minds are interpreting. But our subconscious minds are being filled with a much more sinister idea. The light and dark concepts of duality is arguably the main takeaway of the Star Wars films. We see it through symbolism that displays the two colors of black and white, which represent the absence and presence of all colors, the light and the dark, which is why in the movie, Rey wears white while Kylo Ren wears black. This is the type of symbolism you will see often. Like in The Lord of the Rings, this was prevalent. The dark figures that hunted Frodo were in black. In the beginning of the adventure, Gandalf was wearing gray. He was called Gandalf the Grey. He was a mixture of black and white. When he came back to assist them with the final battle, he wore white, and he was called Gandalf the White.
Gandalf the Grey. That was my name. Gandalf. I am Gandalf the White.
It's satanic imagery that is prevalent in much of our culture. You probably see it often, but are not able to identify what is being presented to you. A familiar symbol that displays this is of the yin and yang, which demonstrates that both sides of the spectrum are to be found in all things. Philosophers oftentimes believe the concept of duality was created by mankind in order to make sense and categorize things. It's that you can't have good without evil, and there should be a balance of both. This is a teaching that should be taught by itself because it is very deep. In terms of the tales of Star Wars, the dark side is the path one takes to achieve condemned and unnatural abilities. And we are led to believe that the Jedi Order is the side of good. But that is not what they are truly saying. The entire aim of the tale in Star Wars is that of a reconciling of opposites. Star Wars has an occult flavor of Gnosticism. Gnosticism is an early esoteric version of the Christian faith that believes in the importance of merging good with evil. They believe that we are all connected. This form of thought is a promotion of Lucifer. Aleister Crowley taught that Satan was the true savior and not the enemy of man because he knew good and evil. And he taught initiation through sayings such as, "Know thyself." But in true biblical teaching, there is no mixing of the dark and the light. For you were once darkness, but now you are light in Yahweh. Walk as children of light, for the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness, righteous, and truth. That's Ephesians chapter 5, verses 8 and 9. Scripture never tells us to merge light and dark, never to have a balance of good and evil. That is a satanic mindset that is now mainstream thought because people don't want to be under dominion of our Creator and His rules. They want to live life as they wish and do as they will. They want to be a good person but do a little evil on the side. In duality, the reconciliation, which is the action of making one view or belief compatible with another, the reconciliation of opposites is used to show that light and dark are both one and the same, and indeed not different. The occultists believe that there is no such thing as good or evil, and that Christianity is responsible for this form of societal programming. Aleister Crowley sought to join good with evil and prove that they are both the same thing, and all things are simply expressions of love and God. In his book of the law, he writes, "Let there be no difference between any one thing and any other thing." So what you're seeing is not a tale of battling good versus evil, and that's why the prequels movies 1 through 3 were so important. In movie 1, The Phantom Menace, we are told of a prophecy. There is constant talk about bringing balance to the Force.
You refer to the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force. You believe it's this boy?
The plot in Star Wars is not intended to obliterate evil, but rather to bring it into balance with the light. The light and dark sides of the Force are both still expressions of a universal energy, but are truly only the same thing. If destroying evil completely was the aim, it would not bring balance, since the light side would be the only one left in existence. That's not balance, that's one-sided. They never said the goal was to destroy evil or to destroy the dark side. Their goal was to bring balance to the Force and destroy the Sith. And they showed that there was a prophecy of a coming Jedi, a chosen one that will bring balance to the Force. And this chosen one was Anakin Skywalker.
He is the chosen one. You must see it.
And so the actual major revelation in these movies is who the true hero is. Now we naturally assume it to be Luke Skywalker, but Luke is not the true hero. Now don't get me wrong, he is a hero of the movie, just like Han Solo is. That is undeniable. But Luke was really just a vessel to help the real hero fulfill his destiny. The true hero of the movie was Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. He is the anti-hero that proves to the audience that evil really is good and it can be joined in with the light. The original Jedis just misinterpreted the prophecies and understood them wrong. Anakin is called the Chosen One and is born through Immaculate Conception.
Who was his father?
There was no father. I carried him, I gave birth, I raised him. I can't explain what happened.
Fans like to call him the Jesus of the Bible, but he's actually the moonchild of Aleister Crowley's description in his novel called Moonchild. That is a tale based on the beliefs of magic and the attempts to conceive a special chosen moonchild that will save humanity and improve its conditions. Coincidentally, the story revolves around battle between white and black magicians. This moonchild is what Christians know as the Antichrist, but I digress. Anakin started as a Jedi in the light. Being in the light did not allow him to have attachments, and so he went against the Jedi Order and got attachments. And then in order to save the ones he loved, he went to the dark side. In the final battle when he fights Luke, he realizes he still has light in him and kills Palpatine, the Sith Lord, who is all dark, and thus he brings balance. When he dies, he told Luke that Luke saved him.
Leave me.
No, you're coming with me. I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you.
You already have. Luke. You were right. You were right about me.
They are showing us that the dark is the same as the light. We see Anakin becoming a practitioner of the dark side and become Darth Vader, but yet is still able to love and still have light in him. Luke constantly said this. There's light in him. I know it.
I've accepted the truth that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father.
That name no longer has any meaning for me.
It is the name of your true self you've only forgotten. I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully.
Anakin is the true hero given to our subconscious. He merged the light with the dark. He died with balance. And this is complete occult symbolism. This was done with the story of Rey and Kylo Ren as well. Rey was the light and Kylo was the dark, but they were able to come together to defeat the true enemy that wanted to control them. They would not have been able to defeat Palpatine without both. The last three films, The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker, just added to the symbolism in other ways and gave more examples of applying the occult into our lives. In the last movie, Rey consistently was tapping into the occult, trying to speak with the past Jedi Masters. Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi astral projected himself while in a yoga elevating pose to fight the enemy. And the last scene where they were fighting Darth Sidious was completely occultic. Even Finn kept mentioning his feelings of the Force. They are pushing a complete occult religion to the masses that are uninitiated and unaware. Star Wars is a Luciferian tale inspired by hints of New Age, Gnosticism, Hinduism, Aleister Crowley, and occult teachings. They are telling us that the fallen angel is not truly evil, and that the social construct of dualism with good and evil is merely an illusion. You can be both, good and evil, and be okay. That's what this movie promotes. And while there is so much that we can discuss, I think I will leave it there. There are 10 movies that go along with the storyline, and they even have a Netflix series as well. There are just too many examples to discuss and break down, and that is not my intention. I cannot break all of this down to you. I myself do not know it all. I'm sure there are many things I have missed while I've tried to watch and analyze. The goal is to expose this wickedness and promote critical thought for those that have taken in this programming. You see, the devil is not fighting fair. People say they don't believe in the Bible because it's about control, but the God of the Bible does not operate in the darkness like Satan does. He does not resort to tricks and schemes like the devil does. He does not want to trick you into worshiping him. But this is what Satan is doing day in and day out, and these movies are his sermons. He knows the younger generation are not trying to sit down and hear lectures. They definitely are not going to sit down and read. But if you entertain them and feed them slowly with your principles and beliefs without telling them, they will adopt the principles as their own and never know how those thoughts have gotten there. And this is a primary reason why we have seen such an increase in the practice of the occult in this generation of youth and adults. If we do not expose these things, then the minds of countless men and women, boys and girls, will be infiltrated without them ever knowing. The world is preparing the masses for a new world order. They are being prepared for a new age, one world religion, and they are being prepared to accept a chosen one who will bring a balance of good and evil and be a sort of Zen master. These movies are being made to promote this to us. And while they are using billion-dollar empires and worldwide marketing with world-class mind-controlling techniques, they are still not a match for our Elohim, the one true God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Most High who sent his Son to take the penalty for our sins, so that we have a way to be in fellowship with him. The world is trying to eliminate this belief and usher in their own way and their own twist, and the exposing of this movie is just another real-life example of this. The Bible tells us, "And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them. For it is shameful to even speak of those things which are done by them in secret." That's Ephesians chapter 5, verses 11 and 12. And that's what the goal of this video is. Now is the time to recommit your life. If you recognize the trickery of the devil, rebuke him and seek our Father. I have a lot of videos that maybe can help answer other questions that you have. It's obvious that the devil is not playing fair, and we must be diligent and fight against his schemes and wickedness. See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be unwise, but understand what the will of Yahweh is. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 through 17. It is not time to play games and follow the ways of the wicked. You cannot mix evil with good. You cannot mix light with darkness. You cannot mix holy and worldly. So if you've been deceived by these false mindsets, it's time to change and get out. Do this today. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please make sure to like it and share this with others. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Elohim willing, I upload every Friday. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. As always, I'd like to thank all who donate and contribute to this ministry. I want everyone who has contributed to this ministry to know how thankful I am for your love and support, and I am humbled. I thank our Father for using you. You are truly a blessing and are really appreciated. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again everyone for watching. I love you all.